So, should we give him a demo?
Sure. So let me click back over here. Now, before I start playing some stuff, just to finish up here, we have on pop rock we have a 2BQ. I just explained that. This is a solid state equalizer. Now that's something that you can't touch and you can't control, but that's for good reason. What that does is that works with the compression later on down the chain as to create a certain level of support. It's not like you're EQing something in, but it creates dimension and depth of field, punch that is there all the time. It's just part of the sound. This tube compressor, which is part of pop rock, then the solid state de-esser, which Gavin was talking about in terms of helping shape the top end. So that works in hand again with the EQ. You can open something up in the upper mids and the highs without it sounding digital or harsh or edgy. Or sometimes you just want to use it as a way of helping shape some top end. Sometimes if you work it really hard, you'll actually get a little bit more body because it softens the edge up top and puts more emphasis relatively. Your ear is now drawn to the lower mids, perhaps. Of course, it's case by case depending on what you're working on, but that's another tool that you can use. You can fine tune that, and then the solid state compressor at the end. Now, this is important to know about because there's two parameters that can be affected here. There's the threshold, how hard that compressor is working, and then also the makeup gain. Now, the makeup gain can be thought of the overall output gain of the process. So sometimes, when you're getting your gain structure, and with mastering, gain structure is everything. Let's say, and this is the beginning of the chain. This is the input drive. So let's say you get a couple dB or so of gain into the chain. Then you might want to fine tune your makeup gain a little bit, depending on how you're hearing everything moving once it goes through the signal path. And it could be that you back this off a dB once hearing that, and you gain the makeup gain up a dB relative. You'll find that you're by making decisions like that, you're going to be kind of in a like a similar place with overall gain, but things are going to be squeezing a little less hard. You're essentially going to be working all of the processes a little less hard by doing that. So fine-tuning your gain structure is huge with this.
There's a question. Should we take this question real quick?
Yeah.
Can we move the screen so that we can see the questions?
Yeah.
Over. So, Mind Robber, give us your thoughts on loudness and how to compromise between getting good volume but not being over the top. So, that's an interesting topic because basically you want it to lend you money and pay you back, i.e. wanting your cake and eat it too. Okay, here's the deal on level. No one gives a shit about level. You gotta know that. No one cares. There's not a single instance of a fan trying to get their money back for the music because it's not loud enough. Ever. So you gotta know that. However, in this day and age of trying to stay employed, everybody's trying to get louder than each other. And if you're an engineer mixer or a producer, you want to keep your client. You want your artist coming back for the next album. They want it loud. They want it snappy. They might not know what it is they're looking for, but they really just want to compete with everything else that's out there. When you put it on the radio, it automatically levels. So it doesn't matter what the output level is. It's going to get leveled. When it's on iTunes, there's automatic levelers out there now. So there really is no reason to do this. The way to treat music, if you really want to do it right, is this. You have your peak. You have your dynamic range of each song. It falls where it does. You record your drums, you record your guitars, you record everything. And the peak level should tickle the peak areas and come in maybe a tenth or so below that. So if you use a compressor to push it into those levels, always come back a tenth. So as not to distort any D to A consumer grade converters. In order to get more level than that without distortion, you have to pull your peaks down so you can raise your average level into that peak. And the only way to do that is with a compressor. So you can get more level, but you'll lose excitement. And that's just the deal. So if you really have to do it, which sometimes we have to do. We all have to do it. It's part of the nature of being in business. Um, Probably the biggest saving grace you can have in all of this is um, EQing into it. If you have to compress something to lose excitement, you need to EQ some mid-range back into it. Some 3-4 kilohertz, something exciting, something to make it pop. Because at the end of the day, what you want is you want the speakers to push air out of the room, push air into the room and excite the room. That is the goal. So if you compress and pull this all into itself, you have to use some EQ to push it back out again. You'll end up with something smaller and it'll be louder. You have to EQ back into it. This is also built into this plugin. So I hope that tackles that question. Why IK Multimedia and not another plugin developer is another question here. IK completely understood this concept. I mean, you know, it's one of those situations where the perfect band comes together. You know, we got with their development team. They understand music. They're great to do business with. Their audience. They've got so many people in their fan club of entry-level musicians, and we specifically wanted to make this product for people coming into the business that didn't understand anything, that didn't have any background. Because what's happening is all the manufacturers, when you say why not the other manufacturers, they're all great, but everybody's just plowing the market with product, and there's no real tutorials on how to use it. It's kind of like mobile technology. You know, there's no real etiquette behind this stuff. People just use it and they go to dinner and they do this all the time. So it's the same thing in the music world. You know, we haven't figured out what to do with this all yet. It's this overwhelming amount of product. So we wanted to create something that tackled the issues that we saw out there. There's many people that aren't going to come and work with us, and we wanted to give them a product with very rudimentary background skills. IK's got the marketing for this. They've got the fans for this. They've got the technology to use into the product itself. It was a match made in heaven. That's why IK, perfect company for this.
Going back to Loudness a little bit, Loudness has a sound, and what I mean by that is density has a sound. Because when you're dealing with loudness, you're dealing with how much space is between the elements and how they're relating to each other. And the more you squish, you get maybe more impact, more punch, but to a certain degree, and then you start losing it. You go too far and things start feeling like, essentially imagine, you know, I use martial arts sometimes when talking about punch. You got a brick wall, like your punching bag. And then if that punching bag, you got your trainer holding it, it's not going anywhere. You might hurt your hand. It's no longer has any give. But if that punching bag, nobody's holding it, it has some movement towards it. So I like to relate punch to understanding how transients are hitting that final brick wall limiter. By the way, underneath the hood in our software here, there is a brick wall limiter post that solid state compressor. That's built in. That is set that way to achieve the most out of all the other processes. How they're all interrelated, just so you guys know. But you know, fine tuning how loud to get. I see some questions. What's your average level that you're printing these days? It's completely case by case. We get that question all the time. How is there a particular amount of headroom? Well, not only how loud do you make things day to day, but is there a particular amount of headroom that I should be mixing for when preparing mixes? That's another common question. These things are completely variable. They're completely relative to whatever you're working on. And there's no there's some rules of thumbs that get floated around the industry. We say, okay, you know, everything should average at this particular amount. There's no rules. You know, we got seasoned mixers coming in, and they hit stuff very, very hard, but it sounds great, and that's part of their musical output.
Yeah.
They did it for artistic and musical reasons. And then we got other guys that leave a whole bunch of headroom, and dynamic range. Not even just from passage to passage between the songs, but you know how the elements are hitting, and they are anticipating how it's going to be hit in mastering, so they achieve something great, and we work with that too.
If you have to use a compressor, use it to extract the goodness out of something. Use it as a musical process to make the music better than it was before you used it. Don't use it to get level. These things are in there; they're built in there. But this should be the first approach to take. That should be the mindset. That's our philosophy. Somebody said, "What do you feel about Lander on there, or these automated facilities coming up?" You know, you still need a human at the end of the day. So this product eventually, when artificial intelligence is good enough, which will be in 10 or 100 years or 1,000, there'll be able to be some sort of anticipation on what a human will do. But right now, what this product does is it's a starting point of what a human would do without needing to do it, because you come in at the back end and you can tweak and undo things and change things. But you still need a person, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all. I think that we don't want to talk ourselves out of a gig as being a human being. You know, you don't want robots doing everything, because then they'll start listening to the music too. Humans listen to it. Humans should work on it. And music is the form of expression. It's how you judge a culture. It's how you decide what you're dealing with on a day-to-day basis within the cultural infrastructure that you live. So it's made by humans. These are tools to capture these emotional moments and convey them at a later date through a mobile device, you know?